Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. It's Friday night, which means appointment with Fear night. You may have you may have tuned in earlier on and seen me in all my camera woes. I've gone back to my old camera now. Hopefully it's working okay. You know, my snazzy Canon camera decided to stop working for some reason, so we're back to the old webcam, the old Logitech. Right, so we'll start again. We'll start again from where we left off. Now then, I'm calling this Friday night appointment with Fear because when I was a kid, about 10, 11 years old, my mum used to let me stay up on a Friday night and watch Appointment with Fear on Yorkshire TV, and that's after the news at 10:30. They used to show horror films, usually Hammer films, maybe Amicus or something like that, or a Tygon. But they show things like that, you know, Dracula, Frankenstein films, and the great Curse of the Werewolf with Oliver Reed. Love that film. That's another one that I think we'll be doing. But they also showed Quatermass and the Pit, which is one of my favourite films of all time, the Hammer version. I've got the 1958 BBC version on Blu-ray and DVD, and that's amazing. In a lot of ways, it's superior to the Hammer version, but I still love the Hammer version. In America, it was called 5,000,000 Years to Earth because it's I suppose they could call it a horror film. It's more of a chiller, but it's also a science fiction because it's about Martians that came to Earth 5,000,000 years ago, and now they're discovering them. Right, so we'll get on with it, shall we? I'll do my intro again. So see you back in a minute. There, we're back. Hope you like those little clips from old horror films and Insidious, which is another of my favourite films. Horror films. It's a great film, is that? So any road up, right? We will crack on with Quatermass and the Pit. Hopefully it's going to come on. There we go. Quatermass and the Pit, 1967. Hammer Film Productions. All rights reserved, and it stars. We're going to go through the cat. Oh, see, I've missed it. Look, there we go. James Don. Oh. I'll wait for it to come on. I'll take the audio off. I'm not going to play it because there we go. Because they're all copyright issues. You know what YouTube's like. So I'll just go through it in clips and we'll talk about it and the impact it's had on me and, for all my life, basically. Right, so anyway, so Andrew Keir plays Professor Bernard Quatermass. His only second billing under James Donald, who plays the professor, the doctor, Dr. Roney, who was played by a Canadian chap in the BBC version. But in this one, he's played by James Donald, who gets top billing because he'd been in Bridge on the River Kwai. So for that reason, he got top billing in this film because the producers thought he'd be more recognisable than Andrew Keir, who is a brilliant Quatermass. He's probably the best, maybe the second best, after the fellow that played him in the BBC version. Then we've got the lovely Barbara Shelley and Julian Glover as Colonel Breen. Right, we start off. There's a Bobby on his beat. He's checking some doors. And there we go. Belisha Beacon. Don't know what a Belisha is. Is it the person that invented them? I don't know. But there we go. They're at Hobbs End underground station, and there's work going on inside. You can hear the sounds of drills and stuff. And there we go. There's men working away. They're throwing like clay and mud and stuff onto this conveyor belt, and they make a discovery. There we go. Excuse me. A skull encased in mud, and it's in good nick, isn't it? Although they do say later on, Dr. Roney says later on that all the others are pretty, smashed, and but this one looks pretty good nick, doesn't it? anyway, it's discovered. It's found by. We're going to see him. And they're having fun with it. Look, all right. That chap there. It's Blake from Blake 7. Rog Blake. What's the name of the actor? Gareth. Oh, it's gone. It's gone out of my mind. Is my stream still working? Yes, it is. It's gone out of my mind. Gareth, somebody or other. Who played Rog Blake in Blake 7? Anyway, they carry on. Well, we'll do it this way. Yeah? They carry on, and there we go. They find. Well, it's not showing it. They find another skeleton. See if I can get on it. But it won't let me. It's not going to let me, is it? Because it's been a bugger. We're having problems with this this stream today. Right, we'll play it. There we go. Puts his pickaxe in, just pulls it away. It's all, but there's no mud around the skeleton. But there we go. No mud around the skeleton. Anyway, they say there we go. Is that there we go. Underground ape men discovered. So then we see Roni, and we see Sheila Steeple, who's a famous British actress, and they see the archaeological dig that's going on. And Professor Roni is there's some of the bones that they've found. They keep calling them fossils, but they don't look like fossils to me. They look like bones. I know fossils are, but they're not. They're rock. Fossils rock, isn't it? But anyway, whatever. That's Barbara Shelley as I can't remember the name of the character now. Tell you, I should have had all this prepared, shouldn't I? But I thought I'll go live, we'll do this show. But my camera woes has thrown me for a loop. There's James Donald as Roni, and he's holding a press conference because he wants the public to know about what's going on, because he thinks that there'll be pressure. Go on over there. There'll be pressure. So I'm talking to me wires. There'll be pressure for the work to continue, and obviously he doesn't want that to happen. He wants to be able to continue his dig and discover more bones. He thinks they're from like a pre-hominid species from 5 million years ago, and he's very excited about it. And there's Sheila Steeple. There's Barbara Shelley. What they call her now? I can't remember the name of her character. One of my favourite films, and I blanked on everything. Anyway, so here we go. So he's doing all this. Telling them all about it. And then he shows a mock-up of what he thinks they looked like. He says they weren't very small. Weren't very big, I mean. They're quite small. And then this this lady comes up, this archaeologist comes up behind Barbara Shelley. God, I wish I could remember. I'm going to have to look it up, aren't I? Hang on. Let me look it up. Tell you the joys of live streaming. Quatermass and the Bit, 1967 film. Then there we go. It's Barbara Judd. I was thinking, does she play Barbara? But I thought no, because she's called Barbara. Yes, she's playing Barbara Judd, right? And let me get the full cast list, and then I can tell you the name of this lady that appears. If it's going to tell us, there we go. It's B. Duffel as Miss Dobson. That's it. Now, where are we? I'll make that separate. Apologies for this. Right. So Miss Dobson comes up and she says she's found she's hitting, she thinks she's hit a pipe. There we go, she's telling her there. He's carrying on. So she takes Barbara down and they see that there's some sort of metal underneath. And the chap there, the bowler hat on, he's got the plans for the underground. He says, well, there should be no pipes under here. It's all been approved. There's no pipes. There's no water pipes or gas pipes or anything. And she says, good job, I wasn't using a pickaxe. And then they decide that there's only one thing it can be, which is an unexploded bomb. There we go. So they put the sign, unexploded bomb, keep clear. There we go. Bomb disposal team arrive with Captain, What's his face? Oh, God. Where is he? Captain... where? Come on, where are you? Oh, by the way, it's Gareth Thomas who played Rog Blake. I can't find the captain. I can't find the captain in this list. No, it's not showing, is it? I'm going to have to go into IMDb. That's what I'm going to have to do. Because Google's not playing ball. Captain Potter. Sorry, it just came to me then. Captain Potter. Hey, it just came to me. There we go. Brian Marshall as Captain Potter. Thank you, IMDb, although I remembered before that. Right, where were we? Right. So, you may remember Brian Marshall. He was in... he played the captain of a British submarine in the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me. So, there you go. Right, so the bomb disposal team come in. Ronnie's not happy. He says, go on, tear it all up. Anyway, they find some more bones. And his magnet doesn't stick. And he says it's not ticking. So he's not sure what to do. So he thinks they're going to get a second opinion. So Rodney says, surely you're a young man. You can't have the wartime experience. And Potter says, yes, I'm going to get a second opinion. So, and that's when we cut to the War Office. They don't call it that anymore, do they? It's the Ministry of Defence. But back in those days, it was the War Office. Anyway, we see some soldier chaps doing office work. Obviously, this is Potter on the end of the line. I assume he's asking for Colonel Breen, but he's in a meeting. So he takes a message in for him. There's Colonel Breen, and they're talking about going to Mars for some reason. So there's Mars behind some curtains. There's Bernard Quatermass. Doesn't look very comfortable in that chair, does he? But there we go. The great Andrew Keir. By the way, I met Julian Glover at a convention, and he's a very nice chap. Very nice chap. So anyway, they're talking about putting bases on the moon, missile bases, to police the Earth with ballistic missiles from the moon. And Quatermass tells him, well, are you sure your rockets will be, accurate enough? And he says, well, I'm sure they'll find the Earth. I think, is that in this one? Is that in the BBC one? I can't remember. I've watched both that many times. They've kind of squished into me brain. Anyway, so and apparently Breen is taking over the British Rocket Group. Quatermass, founded the British Rocket Group, and the government's taking it over and putting Colonel Breen in as kind of like a co-chairman or whatever, along with Quatermass. And he's not happy about that. Is Bernard, or as you'd say in America, Bernard. So, but he said, "Oh no, I'm sure we'll get on. Everything will be hunky dory." And there's the some civil servant says, "Right, I'll leave you to it." And then there we go. This chap comes in with a note. He says, "Oh, I can't possibly." And he says, "Oh, all right then." So anyway, so Quatermass tags along. They both get in the car, and Quatermass tags along, and he's obviously curious as to what's going on. So he follows Breen in to the dig site. And then we go. They've uncovered more of the object, which ends up looking a bit like a speedboat, but I don't know why. But but it does. It looks better. I must admit, this Martian, the spaceship or whatever it's supposed to be, it does actually look better in this than in the BBC version, which is just like a bit of a cylinder with these lumps on. But this looks a bit more sleek. But anyway. So anyway, they found a cavity inside, so they've cleaned it all out. They find some more bones. They find another skull, and it's intact. And this is when Roney says, "Oh, it's much better than all the others," but the first one they found were pretty good, wasn't it? So they get this they call Ronnie over, and they get this skull out. And obviously they're saying, "Oh, how did it survive? A fragile fossil. How did it survive the impact?" They're saying this is a bomb. That the Nazis dropped in during the Second World War, and so he said, "How did this fragile fossil survive? Getting rammed in with all this mud into this bomb." And he says, "I don't know. It must have been protected. It was inside that thing." And he goes, "Hang on, that's no bomb. Whatever is it?" And that's when Bernard has inklings, because he knows it's an alien spaceship. And there we see the lovely Barbara Shelley again. So he's asking Ronnie about it. He's saying, "No, it was." This is where he does his "whatever is it." That's it. Is this it? Oh, I've bloody muted it, haven't I? Because I'm an idiot. Let's go back a little bit. There we go.
Get this skull under treatment.
That skull seems remarkably well preserved.
Yes, isn't it? Far better than the first.
What do you think protected it?
Huh? Oh, it was inside that. Good Lord. I was so concerned just now, I didn't realize. It was inside. That's no bomb. Whatever is it?
Good acting, eh? Good acting. Anyway, so whatever is it? By George. I'll stiff upper lip and all that. Anyways, this Bobby here is a local chap. He's helping, obviously, with the army. And Breeze decided they're going to, totally uncover the whatever they're calling it, cylinder. And they ask about, what dropped on here? Did the Germans drop any big bombs here during the war? And he says, no, just a few incendiaries. And there were no casualties. And Breen says, yes, because the area had been evacuated or whatever. And the Bobby says, oh, that's not quite true, sir. These houses were I was just telling him there. These houses were empty already. Although in the BBC says there's still somebody living in one of them. His houses were empty already. Some sort of scare. And then we go to one of the great scenes in the film and in the TV version. There you go. It goes looking out. You see, there's the empty, dilapidated houses over the road. You see a bit of scaffolding there. Is that that's supposed to be there? I don't know. But there we go. There they're going to go. He gets a torch. There's the Bobby, and he shows Quatermass and Barbara the houses. And you see there's the scratches on the walls and strange writing. And the policeman gets scared and says, "What made those scratches?" And he goes, "Kids made them. Kids mucking about." And gets all sweaty. Then has to rush out. There he is. And there's the scratches. So obviously some unearthly force has made those scratches. And we come back to this house later on in the film, near the end actually. That's for later. There he is. Oh, kids made them. Kids mucking about. And it's to get outside. And says, "Sorry, sir, I didn't know what came over being there." Says it's all right. But anyway, the story is that stuff had been seen, and apparently, the ghosts. It's basically the houses were haunted. So, and apparently there were ghosts or spirits or whatever of the ape men. It says later on that the figure was small, like a hideous dwarf. In the BBC version, they say like a monkey or a dwarf, but in this they say a hideous dwarf. Sorry if you're a little person, you're not hideous. Anyway, so Breen's staying on for a while, and Quatermass says he'll stay as well. It's piqued his interest what's going on. So, they're going to hang around and see what happens. This is Barbara's looking up at the sign, the road sign, the street name sign, and she notices that the spelling's changed. In the BBC version, I think it were Ronnie and Quatermass that were looking at it, but in this one it's Barbara. and Quatermass. And there we go. You can see the change of the spelling. It used to be with one B and an apostrophe, but now they've changed it to Hobbs. And he says, "Oh, like the cricketer." I presume that's the cricketer called Hobbs. I don't know. I don't follow cricket. But then Barbara says, "Hob used to be another name for the devil." Dun dun dun. There we go. Anyway, meanwhile, or was it next day or whatever, or later on that day, I don't know. They're at the museum. Quatermass has arrived, and we see Ronnie's lab. He's got all this cool equipment, and gives Bernard some coffee, and they're doing some tests on, what's his name? I should know, it's Mr. Johnson, isn't it? I think it's Mr. Johnson. Let's have a look. Mr. Johnson. I'm sure they said Mr. Johnson. You know what, it's not telling us in this IMDb list. No, it ain't. Oh, that's a pity, isn't it? So go to all cast and crew, it might tell us in there. But I think in the BBC version, it was Mr. Johnson. But there we go, yes, Johnson. Keith Marsh, the actor, Mr. Johnson. And he's doing some tests on him. He's got this stuff hooked up to him. That's a big bugger, isn't it, that skull? Is it a Gigantopithecus supposed to be? I don't know. Anyway, they're trying to get images from the human mind onto a TV screen. It'd be like the most amazing invention ever, but they're just using it as though it's something of note. Quatermass is asking about the skeletons, and he says, "Are they of this earth?" Oh, pardon me. And Ronnie says, "Yes, they are. They fit into evolution, apart from their huge skulls." So, in my view, that has mean they're not of this earth, or they don't fit into evolution because of their huge skulls. But whatever. That's it telling him. Are they of this earth? And we're going to see in a minute. I think we are anyway. We're going to see Johnson's dream. I think that's later on. No, I'm lying. We don't see Johnson's dream. We see Ronnie tries it out later on. Anyway, meanwhile, Barbara's arrived, and she's got some photocopies. She's been doing some investigating, and she talks to Quatermass, and she shows him photocopies, and they're from news reports from years and years ago. Some from like 1920, some from before, and they're talking about things that had been seen in the area, and this is where we get the figure was small like a hideous dwarf, and Quatermass like poo-poos it. "Oh no, we're scientists, we shouldn't be doing this," and she gets a bit upset by him because he's a bit brusque with her. But anyway, there he is saying, "Oh, it's nonsense." But then he thinks, hang on, it might not be. It's all because they realise it's all disturbances of the earth when this stuff starts kicking off. So he softens, and they decide to go and investigate a bit more. Meanwhile, back at the dig, they've uncovered the cylinder, and Colonel Breen's using his seeing if it's ticking. Basically, he's listening to it, and he's got gloves on. You'll notice because if they touch it for a while, they get like burns on the fingertips, a bit like frostbite, but it's not cold. That's a weird thing, isn't it? There's a chap. They've got a chap that's trying to burn his way through it, and he puts. It's Potter, isn't it? Potter that's trying to burn his way in, but it doesn't do anything. And he's holding the cutter, oxyacetylene cutter on, and it was on for a full 5 minutes, and it's not even warm. Anyway, Barbara and the gang arrive, and Quatermass, and there we go. There's the saying, it's not even warm, and that's piques his interest even more. And he says they found the thing inside. And they think there's a cockpit. There's a sealed off area that they can't get through. And they've tried a diamond drill, but that's not worked or something. So he said, "Well, you should try a Borazon drill. That's harder than diamond, but it means bringing in a private contractor." So There they're talking about his injuries, and they were looking here, and they find a pentacle, a really crudely drawn or etched pentacle. I'll show it in a minute. There we go. You can see it there. Hang on, it'll be mouse pointer. You see it there. I mean, in the BBC version, which were made like 9 years before this, on the BBC budget, it looked really good, but, Hammer obviously couldn't afford somebody to do a proper pentacle, so they just got a compass out with it scratched in a crude, some crude circles. Is it going to show it? It's not going to show it, is it? But whatever. So the pentacle was one of the Kabbalistic signs, of the devil or whatever. Anyway, here we go. This is old. I forgot his name as well. Now I'll tell you. Westy, that's it. Sapper West. Oh, Westy's got the orders. He sees something inside as they're clearing it out. And they go, I saw it went through the wall. So they get him out. And his sergeant's kind of, doesn't believe him. But they get him away. And they give him a drink of brandy or whatever it is to calm him down. And Quatermass asks him what he saw. And says, it was a figure. And the sergeant says, with its head under its arm. And Quatermass says, I'll be quiet. And he said, it was a figure, it was little. He went through the wall. And then she says, the figure was small, like a hideous dwarf. And he says, hey, miss, how did you know? So that's what happens there. So obviously, we're seeing ghosts and stuff now. Although we don't actually see it, but we know the chap who does see it. Old Westy. Westy's got the horrors, as they say in the BBC version. Anyway, so we're back at the museum, and Barbara's looking up stuff. Or is this the archives at Westminster Abbey? I think it is. They've gone to the archives at Westminster Abbey. So they're looking stuff up, and they find that things have been seen all through the years. Usually when they're digging, so that they find that stuff's been seen. It's long known as a troubled place, and things have been seen when they've been digging up trees or felling trees or digging a well or whatever, stuff like that. And then things start happening when you disturb the earth. Things are seen, and people go a bit crazy. So, and it's now when they've gone to the archives of Westminster Abbey, and they've got this chap here who's actually in the BBC version, and he plays a vicar in the BBC version, but changed the actor. They get another actor playing the vicar, and he's playing this curator or something of the archives at Westminster Abbey. Anyway, he's reading an old Latin text, and this is when he says, it's long known as a troubled place, and all that. So that's that. So we find that thousands of years stuff's been going on here. So anyway, Quatermass heads back to the dig. Oh, and they've got the borers and drill chap in. Seddon, is it Seddon or Sledden? I can't remember. Hey, Sladden, that's it. Played by Duncan Lamont. You've probably seen him in loads of stuff. He's been all over as Duncan Lamont. So anyway, Quatermass said, I told him not to do anything till I got back. And whatever. It's the army, innit? But there he is. He's ready with his drill. So he says, are you insured? It's good to be insured. And talks about, it's a secret job. A fella got locked in a bank vault, and that was a secret job like this. And he says, and Breen says, I'm glad you don't talk about it then. Anyway. Because he's proud of his work. He says, he got through it. In no trouble did his drill. But, as we see, this drill does nothing. We're going to see it in a minute. We're going to see it in a minute. There we go. So he's off now. Look, there we go. Right, hey. And everything's kicking off. Look, the noises start. And all go. There we go. So they're all feeling the effects of trying to do things to the cylinder. And look, they're all freaking out. Look, guy. And anyway, they have to get out because stuff's going on. And then Breen's throwing up, and anyway, they decided they're going to bring some sandbags down and try again. But they find out they don't have to. So they go back inside. I think Potter goes in, somebody, or is it? No, it's Roney. He goes in, and he notices something's up. He says, "Come and look at this." So anyway, there's a hole, but Sladden says, "My drill didn't make that. That's way too big, and it looks melted." So there's a little hole, and then as they watch, we get a little animated sequence of it all opening up, and then we see the Martians. There they are inside. In the BBC version, they actually use the hole to put like a crowbar in or whatever, and they unscrew the opening. So it's a bit more realistic. But anyway, here we are. The insect-like Martians with a tripod leg arrangement. And they're all starting to rot. They're dead, obviously. They've been there 5 million years. They're starting to rot. So they have to get them out and get them to the museum before they rot away completely. And anyway, it's all dissolving inside and all collapsing. And Quatermass, says there's no, what did they use for controls? And he says, obviously the hull did some of the thinking, and Breen's not impressed. He still thinks it's something to do with the Germans in the war. Anyway, there we go. So they're getting them out. They're going to use number 3 sealer. I think it's number 3. This is where they say, I think the hull did some of the thinking, and Breen says, "What are you talking about?" Really see it in this one, but in the BBC version, you notice people getting agitated and irritated a lot near the cylinder, and it doesn't really show it in this much. It does a little bit, but not as much as in the BBC version, because it affects people. It makes people aggressive, but you don't really see it as much in this. Anyway, so the back at the lab, and they're dissecting the Martians, and there's Quatermass, and it's when they decide that maybe these are is this a Martian? I don't know about they decide on Mars, but it could be from anywhere, couldn't they? But they decided the Martians. So this is when Quatermass kind of decides that the Martians have been fiddling with humans on Earth and making them more intelligent. And this was one instance where there were a crash and everybody were killed. They were taking humans to Mars, altering the brains, making the brains bigger, bringing them back and releasing them, using them as slaves or whatever. Proxy Martians. I think they were putting like the Martian psychology into human minds, which is why we're so aggressive, because the Martians were aggressive. So the news is getting out. Oh, yes, they talk to the press. There's Roney and Quatermass, and obviously the government's not happy about that. Here we go. So they've called him in. They're unhappy. There we go. That's the minister. Saying, "You felt the need to talk to the press, but I thought the people needed to know." "Oh, you did you? All right. Well, Colonel Breen's got something to say about that, and he tells it's the Germans. It's a propaganda weapon to panic the British, but, obviously, we haven't discovered it until now. It's a bit late." So, and Quatermass says, "Oh, that's nonsense. You weren't there. These are real things. They've been there 5 million years, blah, blah, blah." But they don't believe him, obviously. They don't believe him. So he says, we can. He accepts Breen's explanation that it were a Nazi propaganda thing that didn't work, obviously. So they decide that's it. There's going to be a press conference at the. It's not a bomb. It's well, it is a bomb, but it's it's not. It's a propaganda thing. There's going to be a press conference, I think tomorrow. Anyway, so Sladen's going back for his equipment, and the army's trying to nick his toolbox, and he goes, "Army," and so he goes in. It's all dark. He says, "Where was Moses when the lights went out? In the blooming dark." So he gets his torch out, and he's going in to get all his equipment. But Barbara's there, and she's left some notes, and so she says, "I've got to go in and to get them." He goes, "Oh, all right then." So she goes in. Anyway, Sladen starts undoing his equipment, and as he touches with his spanner, everything kicks off and things start flying about, and he's freaking out, and he's he's walking weird, and there's always like an insect. He's like going, "Eee!" And anyway, she sees it as well, and everything's all flying about, and he runs out, and this fellow says, "What's going on?" And Sladen runs out. He runs off into the London streets. But obviously, whatever's happened, it's following him. So this snack bar, all the plates and cups go flying, and Sladen runs off, and he ends up in a churchyard, and he hits the deck. And as he hits the deck, the ground starts moving under him. That's an image that stuck with me as I was a kid. I was thinking, "Oh God, even the ground's moving." So anyway, sometime later, I don't know, I'm going to say an hour, I don't know, they've managed to get in touch with Quatermass, and he's brought Barbara along. This is the vicar. Obviously, it's calmed down now. He's not doing his... stuff's not flying about, basically. So Quatermass wants to ask him some questions and about what he saw, and he says, well, it basically it wasn't on Earth anymore. He was on, he didn't realise it, but he was on Mars, and he were in and out of them big places, and he saw them creatures jumping about. And excuse me, that was just my son walking past. Saw the creatures jumping about in and out of them big places, in and out of them, and so obviously Quatermass thinks this is some sort of psychic memory, a race memory that we all hold inside of us, but the cylinder, has brought it out in Sladen, and to some extent, other people later on. So anyway, as he remembers, it all starts kicking off again.
Spit it out of them! Oh, huge, right up into the sky!
So it's affected him, hasn't it? He's a good actor, he's Duncan Lamont. And there we go, it's all kicking off again. So anyway, they decide that they're going to go back. They've got to go and see Roney, that's it. They go see Roney. So I'm trying to remember what's happening here. They go and see Roney, and Quatermass wants to use, the stuff they were using on Johnson earlier on. There we go, Quatermass is there, and he's phoning his people at the rocket group, and they're on the way with their equipment. So anyway, they arrive, and they're using the I forgot what he calls it now, electroencephalograph or something like that. I don't know what he calls it, something like that. And testing it on himself, and then he falls asleep, and basically we see what he's dreaming. And I'm going to show us in a minute. No, it's not showing us, is it? I'm telling you, it's useless. And it shows like a house in the countryside, and it's all very nice. And I thought, good job, it's not one of my dreams. It'd be like chaos on the screen. Anyway, so what happens next? So they go back to the dig site, to Hobbs End, and see Quatermass has got the thing on his head, and he's going to do what Sladen did. In the BBC one, they'd actually take Sladen with them, but they haven't done in this. They cut the power. Anyway, the recording. Nothing. It kicks off again. Stuff starts flying about, but Quatermass doesn't see anything, in his mind's eye. So he's not seeing anything, but stuff's starting to happen. But then Barbara says she can see it, so they put the thing on her, and all hell's breaking loose, and she can see what's happening. And then they get an image. There we go. They get an image on there, and see all the tiles are coming off. And anyway, eventually it stops when she screams. And anyway, they've recorded it, so it's going to go back to the ministry and show them what they've recorded. And it's there we go. And it's a purging of the Martian hives. And now this, you'd think this would be really good quality, or better quality than the 1958 version. But the BBC version, which was done probably for a fraction of this cost, is infinitely superior to this. I mean, look at that. Look. They don't even have any sound. The BBC wouldn't have sound. But, this is a purging of the Martian hives. And there we go. It's a racial cleansing, apparently, which is what they did on Mars. The population got so much, so they just basically murdered loads of the population. And, humans have inherited that genetic trait, thanks to the Martians. But the minister doesn't really believe it. Even though he's seeing it, he's saying it's a remarkable piece of equipment, but it's recorded mental image. And he says, Barbara's obviously got an imagination. And I say, no, it's not. It's not that. And he says, well, that's what I think it is. I think you're wrong. So they don't believe him, basically. So there's going to be a press conference. They're going to open up the dig site to the press and tell them what they think. And he says, you can't do that. There's still activity in the whatever it is, in the ship. So anyways, so there's going to be this big press conference. All the TV and that's there. There we go. ABC TV. So there's loads of power going into it. They actually make a point of saying, they need lots of power. So there's plenty of power going into the hull. That's what they call it, the hull. But obviously it all goes wrong. Quatermass confronts Breen, and that's to get a bit aggressive with each other. I said the hull brings out the worst in us, and something happens. A man is inside the hull. I think they're moving some electrical cables or something, and something happens, and this chap dies. They pull him out, and he's all burnt. Look, and. But then something happens with the ship. It starts coming to life. Look, look.
I stand.
It's there's activity. She sees it. Look, she sees that there was a glowing light inside just before the lights came on. And but then suddenly it all kicks off. Oh, they're on TV. They're in the local pub saying it's just 2 streets away. I think them two, I think they were in the BBC version. He was, anyway, I'm sure he was. But as the same characters, I do believe. Anyway, this chap here is talking about the missile. I don't know why I call it a missile. But there we go. Picture goes off, and it's sound on vision. But anyway, there we go. It all kicks off. Everything starts flying about. The people panic and all go running. Everything starts collapsing. The hull starts glowing, as we see in a minute. Everybody runs out. They're all panicking. People are driving off. People are getting knocked over, and it's all going wrong. There we go. The hull's all glowing. Noise. And anyway, Quatermass gets up, he got knocked over, and he sees this that civil servant who's under a big heavy camera, and he tries to get him out, and he goes, have to make a report, and then dies, because that's what civil servants do, innit? Meanwhile, the hull's all glowing, and we see Breen. Breen just stands. He's got to get hold of Barbara. She's drawn to it as well, so he drags her out. Meanwhile, everybody's going mental now. They're all basically being Martians, because it's the purging of the Martian hive. So anybody that seems different to them, they're attacking and killing, and we see that in a minute. There's Potter. Oh, there's Breen. Hypnotised by the hull, and there he is. He's just stood there, and he ends up on his knees. Anyway, the panic on the streets of London. It's all kicking off. Bit like in Life Force, another great film. We might cover that at some point. Anyway, Roney grabs Quatermass. I don't know what's happened to Barbara, by the way. They've got separated. Roney grabs Quatermass and pulls him, away. He says, "You're being dragged. You're being carried along with the crowd, with the mob." And Roney is immune to the effects of the hull. Quatermass could see it, so you couldn't see it there, this feeling in the front of the brain, but no, Roney's immune, so anyway, he gives him a drink. And this is where he's saying, so perhaps some few are immune. Anyway, this is Breen is, let's go back a bit. Who was still down there, it says Breen.
Breen.
All burnt. So that's an image that stuck with me over the years. He was just so hypnotised by the hull. He just stood there, kneeled there, and burned to death. Meanwhile, people, are using their new psychic powers to, throw bricks and all sorts and stones at people that are different, And then they start killing the animals. Apparently, the screeching of animals. Quatermass tries to kill Roney, but Roney says, "No, remember who you are. You're Bernard Quatermass." So anyway, he remembers who he is, I say. This is a chap who's going to get got by everybody. They're all ganging up on him in a psychic manner. And he ends up buried under, masonry. Anyway, they've got to find a way to stop this. We see all this, damage going on, and some not very good model work, to be honest. The ground's opening up, and it's a bit like, I think I'm sure some lava comes up. And you think, oh good God, what are they doing that for? But then we see Hob in a minute. There's a big outburst of energy, and then there we go. There Hob appears as some form of energy. I don't know why. It doesn't really explain it. But anyway, it's looming over the London skyline, and that's an image that stuck with me as well. So they've got to find a way to, basically to stop this happening. They end up in the house with the scratches on the walls, as I said. And they can see Hob through the window. Anyway, they see a big crane. There we go. There's a big crane there, and it's right next to where Hob is. And Roney says, it can't be that simple, can it? To get that amount of iron, to touch Hob, all that energy, because it's energy, it's not matter. It'll earth it, and hopefully it'll destroy it. And he said, it can't be that simple. So, they wouldn't never account for it, but I don't think this happening is what the Martians had in mind. Anyway, so they leg it over to where the crane is. Barbara, meanwhile, she's being full Martian and trying to stop them, throwing, psychically throwing things at them. And Quatermass goes to try and stop her, and Roney climbs up the ladder, up to the top of the crane. Obviously, the crane's probably not working, because there's probably a power cut, I imagine, but I don't know. I don't know how cranes work. So he don't get in the cab. He just crawls along the gantry or whatever they call it, and ends up at the end of the crane. There we go. There he goes. And he rocks the crane towards Hob, and luckily for him and for the world, it all kind of collapses underneath and just happens to fall towards Hob. There we go, here he goes. Roan is sacrificed himself to save the world. And that's it, basically. Hobbs dead. The people go back to normal. But London's kind of, that area anyway, is kind of ruined. And that's it. The film ends. Look, produced by Anthony Nelson Keys. And that's it. You see the co-stars. And that's it. That's the end of the film. One of my favourites. It's great. And in my headcanon, this is like a prequel to the 1979 Quatermass series that were on ITV with John Mills as Quatermass, because in that, so like civilizations collapsed, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, it's because of this that's happened. It's civilization has collapsed because man has become kind of like the Martian sort of. But that doesn't deal with that. That deals with another alien menace. But that's by the by. So that's it. The end of Quatermass and the Pit. One of my favourite films. Where's my mouse pointer disappeared to? Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. There we go. We'll find a random. See if we can find a good random bit to pause on. In a moment. There we go. We'll pause on that. Right, so there we go. So that's Quatermass and the Pit for you. One of my favourite films. I love it. And if you can, see the BBC version. I think it's in 6 parts. Because obviously it was a TV serial. So I think it's 6 parts. So it goes on for about 3 hours altogether. But that's really good as well. Really good. With, what did they call him? Who played Quatermass? I'm going to have to look that up as well because it's bothering me. Hey, I'll look it up. I'll put Quatermass and the Pit. And the Pit, 1958. Andre Morell, that's it. Andre Morell, who played Quatermass in Told One. And it's just as good. Sometimes it's better actually than the Hammer version, but because Hammer also did the Quatermass Experiment, marketed as the Experiment, with the big X, and Quatermass 2, and they're both good films in their own right. But they were in black and white, and they had Brian Donlevy as Quatermass. I think he was a Canadian actor or American, I don't know. He was from across the pond, and as he's been described as just a raincoat just pointed at people, and he just yells at everybody all the way through the films. He's nowhere near as good as Andrew Keir. But anyway, so there we go. So that's Friday night's Appointment with Fear for you. Quatermass and the Pit. The world nearly ended, but James Donald saved us, thank goodness. So I don't know what we'll do next week. It'll be another classic film, but hopefully you enjoyed my going through it. Apologise for the interruptions and my lad walking past. I don't think you saw him. You might have heard him, but never mind. It doesn't matter. Right, so we'll leave it there. So wherever you are in this mad, horrific universe of ours, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee. I've done wrong one. I did wrong outro. Where is it? It's that one.